Good morning. You're watching Morning at NTV. Now, last week I had a very wonderful conversation with Roland from writerism, and we're talking about where Ugandan writers, African writers stand. Are we actually telling the African story? Forget Wakanda. We have our own stories to tell as Uganda. And it was a shame, actually, my colleague Josephine Karunji started a Convert Flavia hashtag to try and get me to read enough Ugandan books or to support Ugandan writers. And I thought, you know what? We've had a bookshelf here in the studios for some time now since the show started here at Morning at NTV. And for me, I said, I need to start reading Ugandan books. Forget reading books, because that I do. I need to start reading Ugandan books and support them. And I said, for every single writer that we will have on the show, we'll put a book right there on the shelf. I can give us a free copy and no. Sign it, we pay for it, and put it on the shelf. So in this particular one, it's actually the 2016 Writerism Anthology, and I think Roland last week spoke about it. Sundown and Other Stories, a couple of writers. I think there's a few Ugandans and other Africans. You know, when you read a book, and when you read a book, it says something in the hills or the valleys of where, and you cannot relate. This one says, and I'll just read you part of it. He wants to laugh. Aren't daydreams supposed to be beautiful? He disentangles himself from Nyambura's arms and, this time, makes it to the gate without her stopping him. The askari is seated in his little house at the gate, polishing his metallic leg and whistling a merry tune, while one leg that he can still feel taps a beat on the smooth cement floor. When I read askari, I said, this is a Ugandan. Achan, innocent, immaculate. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's refreshing reading things when you're like, yes, I know that one, I can relate. So you surprised me when you walked in and I was asking, so what are you studying? Because you had talked about school, and you said medicine. I said, but surely we need enough doctors now. Why are you writing? But let's start from the beginning, because I want to know about Ugandan writers, and you're actually the first one. Yes, in this series, she's the first one. And I know they're not supposed to ask age, but given that you're in school, you're young.
Yeah.
But let's start with, your background, your family, so that we can best understand you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I grew up with a single mom and my two sisters. And we grew up in a household that encouraged reading and encouraged writing. And I had great role models in my older sisters. Okay. Yeah, I used to read the work that they would write, and I figured, you know what, I can't be left out of this. So I picked up reading and writing pretty early.
Was mom writing? Why was she encouraging this? Was she reading?
My mom is a retired magistrate. So I don't know if
reading is part of
I don't know
their
if
life.
Stereotypical, but lawyers read a lot.
They're supposed to read a lot. They have no choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, being a lawyer or magistrate, it would not accord them to read. They're reading certain things. They're not reading stories like we would read on a general day. They're reading for intellect. They're reading to understand histories and why certain things a certain way.
Yeah.
So, what kind of reading is mom bringing home for you and your sisters?
At that point, it was like fairy tales and that kind of thing, and not just the pretty fairy tales, the Cinderella type.
Yes.
No, those brothers, what are they called? The Hans brothers, I think. Those fairy tales where the princess actually dies and there's no Prince Charming coming to pick her up.
Isn't that a bad thing?
No, it's not a bad thing. I think that we should not be sheltered from, the realities of life. Such things happen, and it's better that we understand this early in life. Yeah. Okay,
so I know most people would say that it's okay for the homes where you grew up and your parents encouraged reading. That was there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard of people saying I grew up in a home where we're encouraged to write. Yes, the reading I hear, the writing I don't. So I mean, what was that? Where was that from?
I think my mom also had a bit of a literature background. She loved reading and she loved writing, and I think we were her entertainment.
Make them write.
Yeah, make them write and read the story and have a laugh.
Yeah, so you said your two sisters are older than you.
Yes.
You said you used to read their stuff.
Yeah.
You say it like it was like published stuff.
Yeah, well, it was published in my mind.
At the time. Okay. What were they writing? What kind of work were your sisters writing?
Very realistic work, actually. I'm surprised that I took the path I took.
Really?
Yeah, because they would write about things that you could relate with, you know, everyday experiences, friendships, relationships, that kind of thing.
Is that what me and somebody watching used to call diaries, where you just write your entire thought process, or something totally different?
Something totally different, like fictional characters, fictional places. Okay, fictional places, but still based
with a touch of reality.
Exactly.
So when you were starting to write, I'm guessing then you were influenced by your sisters and their kind of work.
Yeah.
But from what I know, and the very little that I know, writers are influenced differently to take a style of writing, is it?
Yeah.
So when do you form your own sort of style of writing, away from your sisters' influences?
I think it's a result mostly of what you've been reading and then also your experiences.
Yeah.
So I was reading a lot of speculative fiction from a young age, you know, the Harry Potter kind of thing,
oh, I love Harry
Tolkien,
Potter.
yeah, that kind of thing. C.S. Lewis. So, and then I was also a bit of a daydreamer. I love daydreaming. So I just found myself edging towards that side of writing.
Daydreamers are normally children who are born alone, children who are lonely, or even if you're born in a family of many people, sometimes some children tend to take their own space and their own time. And you find that those are the children who create worlds in them. I'm an only child, so I would know what I'm talking about. But you had sisters.
I did. I don't know why. I think I made time to daydream.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was in boarding school from a very young age. So maybe it was a kind of coping mechanism, because, you know, boarding school can be a little tough when you're younger, especially when it's not a very fancy school.
It wasn't?
It wasn't.
Yeah, but where do you go in such worlds? I'm asking this because we're highlighting Ugandan writers, yes, but we need also Ugandans to understand what that is, and that a writer is not someone out of space.
Yes.
It's the ordinary person telling their story.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering where you go, because when I was growing up and there was some sort of daydreaming when you're a kid, it's what you do, by the way. Let me just explain. The daydreaming is sometimes where you look at your situation around you, and maybe you're not from a very happy background, and you're looking at your home, your family, your situation, you're like, this is not where I want to be in the next couple of years. And you start daydreaming, my car will look like this, our home will be like this, I will have this. And you start to go into that world many times that eventually when you grow up, it becomes sometimes reality.
Yeah.
But where does a Ugandan girl, where does a child go to when she daydreams, when she's in boarding school?
I mean, I go to a place where things are great, like just like you said. And I think from a young age, I've always wanted to be a bit of a fixer, but like it's still up in my mind. I don't think I have the fortitude to actually get in there and do the work for now, but hopefully later. So I would always go to
What do you mean a fixer?
Like, bad things make me sad. Yeah, like I don't want people to be suffering and having less when there are ways that they could have more, that kind of thing.
Have you explored it in any way?
Let me see. Not in a huge way, not in any huge ways, just little ways. I think I'm telling myself, oh, I don't have the time yet, I'm still in school. But I'll figure it out when I get out. You
know, you can change the world in little ways.
Yeah.
You can volunteer, you can make time for something. So you don't have to think big, yes, but you don't have to always go there. Yeah. So you were influenced to read and write with your family. Your mom encouraged you to do that. Your sisters wrote. You started to write your own self. Yeah. Did you write in school? Did you start there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what you first wrote?
It was rubbish.
Oh, come on. I was hoping to go deep into that one. Because even musician said my first song that I wrote, don't even talk about it. So what was your first story about?
I think it was a Ugandan retelling of one of those fairy tales.
Tell me.
I don't remember it very well. I think so, you know. I think so. There was an ogre and a princess, and I don't think things ended very well.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Were they in some Ugandan district somewhere?
No, not yet. I was in like P4, so my knowledge of the map.
So you wrote your first story in P4. Yeah. So when do you polish it and say, this is the first one I'm proud of? I
don't know. I think that would be probably around 3. I was like 15.
Teenager.
Yeah.
That must have been interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I had the encouragement of my friends because they were my audience. They were the ones who used to read my work. So if they enjoyed something, I could tell myself, you know what, I'm doing something right. Yeah.
So what were you writing about as a teenager? I am tempted to name things she would have been writing about, but let her tell us.
I was writing about a bunch of supernaturally inclined high school students. I mean, isn't that expected?
No, no.
Yeah.
They had superpowers.
Yeah, they had superpowers.
In school in Uganda.
In school in Uganda.
But I mean, what? Where does is that dark writing? See, I don't know these things, guys. You must help me. The people who like to write superpowers and supernatural, that's dark, right?
No, not really.
No?
Not really, no. I wouldn't have termed my work dark.
Okay.
Yeah, because it had a lot of humor. Because I tried to infuse as much of my personal experiences into it. So when it was a class scene, it was a Ugandan class. I actually wrote about one of my teachers, but she will never know.
You can tell us. We're now adults. No. Who's going to look for you?
Well, she will look for me.
So let me ask. So you polish it, and I want to know, just tell us until right before you got to this point, before the book. Okay. So from that story in high school to this, like what was in between there?
In my Essex vacation, I had a lot of free time, a lot of it. So I was on Facebook a lot, and I realized that there was an audience for the writing I was doing. I would put up a post, and fictional or factual, it would get a bit of a response here and there. And then I joined this group called The Gathering.
Okay.
Yeah, a Facebook group. It was founded by Dennis Asimwe.
Okay.
And I think that's where I realized, you know what, I can actually do this writer thing for the entire run.
Okay.
Because they used to have like small competitions, and I happened
Still on Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook, and I happened to win the inaugural one. So I was like, oh, okay, a girl can do this.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just kept writing and kept writing. And then writerism came along, and I had never heard of writerism before. I was still stuck in a small cocoon of what I thought Ugandan writing was. And I won. Surprise.
So wait, what for The Gathering, what story won?
It was a really
It's not this one.
No, it wasn't this one. It was a really short story titled Rebirth. Okay. Yeah, and I was basically writing the process of birth from the perspective of the fetus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Your
it.
mind wanders, eh? Your mind
Not so
really
much.
wanders. So writivism comes along. Well, you hear of it for the first time, and you decide, I need to. What attracted you? Is it a case of, my friend Izanu forced me to go? I didn't want to.
Not really. I suppose for me, with my writing, my main motivation is that I want as many people as possible to read it.
Good.
So I figured, you know what, if I can even get longlisted for this prize, I'm going to at least have 10 times as many people reading this story than I would have had if I had posted it only on Facebook.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Facebook is a big audience.
I know, but it's still a little limited. You know, because before writerism, I don't think half of the Nigerian writers who know me now had ever heard of me. So
okay, yes. What it does is push you beyond just. And are you one of those who's, apart from Facebook, blogging? So, you know.
No.
Why are you giving that look?
Because I'm lazy.
She's like, I'm lazy. Really?
Yeah.
How can a writer be? Are writers lazy? Did I just miss that?
I think it depends.
Do you know, because when Roland was here, part of writivism was saying that writers take their time.
They do.
They write and write and write. 3 years later, they're saying, I'm still writing.
Yeah.
How come? Thoughts come slowly?
It's not just that. I think that a lot of writers are perfectionists and they want the best version of their work possible.
Of course.
Yeah, so at least that's my thought. But some of us are just procrastinators. That's true.
She's like, it's my, we just want perfection. Right, so Sundown, had you written this before, or they want you, you guys write something new for writivism?
I had written it before.
Okay.
Writivism doesn't restrict and tell you you should write new work. So I had written it before, and I figured, this is the story that should go in.
Right.
Yeah.
I want you to think of your favorite part, because I'll have you read it before we wind up. But
okay.
tell me about Sundown.
Yeah.
That's by the way. So if you get the 2016 Writivism anthologies, there's a new one? No, there is not yet another compilation.
No, not yet. But they do have an anthology of short stories by purely Ugandan writers.
Purely Ugandan writers.
Yeah.
So try and find that, or just go online. If you're on Twitter, Writivism, you'll be able to get all the information you need. Just ask them, they'll give it to you. And try and find interest in Ugandan writers and their work. But tell me about Sundown.
How do I do this without giving away spoilers?
Meanwhile, first of all, just so you know, when you start the anthology, hers is the first one. Well, you're the one who what? One?
Yeah.
So, my friend. So you won the gathering, then you won this one.
Yeah.
Before you get into it without giving out spoilers, what do you think makes your story special? Because that's you winning. There must be something.
You know what, that's an interesting question. I've never figured it out.
What?
I need people to come and tell me.
Nobody tells you? These are judging processes. Somebody must say, Achani, listen, there's something about your writing.
I mean, they try to tell me, but I don't see it. And I'm saying, okay, guys, good work. Thank you for liking my work.
Humility. Humility. So tell us, without necessarily spoiling the story, what Sundown is all about.
Sundown is an apocalyptic story.
Aye.
Yeah. Those are things I like. I'm a grim-minded person. It's an apocalyptic story set in Uganda, where the world is dying because the sun is dying as well. So
we were known for our sun.
Yeah. So it's taken from the perspective of a 15-year-old boy, and it just basically follows him through the last maybe 2 days of his life and the last 2 days of the earth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Here in Uganda.
Yeah.
I saw a bit of Swahili, then what. So it sort of borrows not just from Uganda, does it?
Yeah. No, but you know what? It's always, I love the idea of, an African version of globalizing work. Like, I want it to be relatable to as many African readers as possible. Yeah.
We say not just Ugandans. Is that because Ugandans don't like reading? I'm being honest. Even the students themselves don't.
I don't know. I don't think that's true. I think Ugandans enjoy reading, but I think by the time most of them get out of school, they have villainized reading. It has become this evil thing to them because they're forced to read for exams and that kind of thing. But a Ugandan is going to pick up their phone and read a long-ass Facebook post and enjoy it. Exactly. So we do have a reading culture. It's just not the conventional one. Yeah,
so I'm going to pass this to you as you try and search for which part you like. Now, I noticed that there's a short story. Even with Gathering, you said short story. I've heard short stories. Does that mean you're not going to put out your 300+ pages?
I am eventually.
Okay.
People, be prepared. Be prepared. It's coming.
She said she procrastinates, guys. So I'm not sure when this is going to come. But if you're watching Take Note, where I told myself from last week when we talked about writivism that it's going to be my joy to bring you every once in a while a Ugandan writer, because they can't just be 3 or 4. There are quite many. So we're going to highlight them, highlight their work, and what kind of stories they're telling about our country, stories that are very relatable, so that when you are reading a book, your fairy tale is actually Ugandan, so that, we start to appreciate their work. So you found your favorite?
Yes.
Please.
Nakasongola was a sleepy town before the mass exodus. Not small by any means, but sleepy nonetheless, roused only when the flow of traffic was at its peak. Now it's a dead town. Snow blows into the open windows of abandoned shops, and an old shell signpost picks through a huge pile of snow. Red has forgotten what the town looks like underneath the carpet of ice. He makes his way towards the large abandoned church he used to go to with his parents and his sister. The wooden double doors are frozen at the seams, and he has to scrape the ice away with his brittle fingernails, the cold making him oblivious to the possibility of frostbite or injury. Halfway through the meticulous task, he stops to inhale deeply from his oxygen tank. He goes back to scraping the ice away and hopes that the sun dies before all the atmospheric oxygen freezes into unbreathable crystals. He would rather cease to exist than live a life that hinges on the insulated metallic tank he hates carrying around.
Fantastic. You see, I'm going to start with this one because of that hashtag Combat Flavia. So this is where I'm starting. This is where I'm starting. And of course, I'll keep bringing you at, you did read through and you told me there were about 8, right?
4.
4 Ugandans?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 Ugandan writers on here. So we're just starting right now. So you are doing medicine.
Yes.
Do we ask which one?
No, I'm still an undergraduate, so I'm doing everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Really? So that's where your interest is?
Yeah.
Well, you did want to save lives and do something
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
So I guess
No, it
you've
makes
ended up
sense.
there somehow.
Yeah.
So does that mean, obviously, there's no time for writing, so at some point it will be less writing, even more and less writing?
You know, I mean, sound like a broken record because
Uh-oh.
I've said this elsewhere.
Uh-oh.
But when you love something, you make the time for it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So what's the future? I mean, because when you said the book is coming, it's someday
Yeah.
the book is going to
Yes.
come. But I'm trying to think of what's the ceiling for you? Where is that point where you feel like, now that is what I'd like to do? Like that's the peak.
I don't know. I don't think there is a peak for a writer.
You just keep going.
keep going and keep going until the day you die.
Eesh.
Yeah.
The first Ugandan writer we're hosting here, well, technically you're the second. We did host just someone who wrote a book about, you know, domestic violence and all that. But we're encouraging many Ugandan writers to please reach out so we can host you and tell your story. Thank you so much, Innocent Achan, for coming.
Thank you for having
And
me.
keep writing, please.
Yeah.
And, of course, become a doctor. Do both so you can show Superwoman.
Yeah.
That's it for Take Note here on Morning at NTV.
You're watching Morning at